Welcome to Voices in Nursing with Dr. Nozil, Care, Policy, and Leadership. Today, we're honored to welcome Judge Matthew, a dedicated jurist and a candidate for Superior Court in Gwinnett County. In healthcare, we often focus on clinical care, but many of the challenges our patients face are shaped by legal decisions happening every day in our communities. The Superior Court is where critical issues are decided, ranging from felony criminal cases for family law, health, commitment, and even medical decisions. Judge Matthew brings not only judicial experience, but also a vision for leadership, fairness, and community centered justice. Today, we'll explore how the work of the Superior Court directly impact individuals, family, and healthcare outcome, and why this matters for nurses and healthcare professionals across Georgia. Judge Matthew, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so pleased to be here.
Okay, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm always working. So not a lot of time for fun, but I enjoy the work that I do and I love engaging with the community. So I'm happy to be here to chat with you and talk about things that I'm really passionate about.
Well, great. Before we start, tell our community about yourself.
Well, look, we could be here a while. Where do you want me to start? No, I'm kidding. So I'm Regina Matthews, and as Dr. Nozil said, I have the pleasure of serving as a magistrate court judge here in Gwinnett County. I was appointed to the bench in 2020.
Okay.
And in the role as a magistrate court judge, I primarily sit by designation in Superior Court. That's just a fancy way of saying there are a lot of cases that come through Superior Court, and those judges needed additional judicial assistance to help manage that caseload.
Okay.
So there are 6 of us that are appointed full-time magistrates. Our primary function is offering judicial assistance to Superior Court. We sit in some of the other courts in our circuit as well. So sometimes we will offer judicial assistance for state court, recorder's court if it's needed, juvenile court. But my primary day-to-day really involves sitting in our Superior Court divisions. We have 11, and so I sit in just about every Superior Court division, and I hear the cases that our Superior Court judges hear. So primarily that's going to be family law. That's about 60% of our caseload.
Okay.
And then about 30% is going to be felony criminal prosecutions and all types of hearings that are associated with felony criminal prosecutions. And then the remaining 10% or so, general civil. So it can be anything from a negligence case involving medical negligence, for example.
Okay.
It could be a contract dispute between individuals or businesses.
Okay.
Superior Court also hears appeals from the lower court. So sometimes magistrate court cases are appealed to Superior Court, as well as decisions from some of our administrative agencies. So if someone files for unemployment, for example, and they have exhausted their appeals through the Department of Labor, then Superior Court acts as like an appellate court.
Okay.
And will decide that case on appeal. We hear landlord-tenant appeals in Superior Court. So if someone is dispossessed of their property, their home that they're renting, and they've again exhausted all of their remedies in magistrate court, ultimately they will appeal up to Superior Court.
Okay.
We hear cases about land disputes. I mean, really, the list goes on. But I will say primarily we hear cases in Superior Court that deal with family law and felony criminal cases.
That's including the healthcare issues that
Absolutely. So that would fall in our civil docket. And so we hear, as I said, negligence cases sometimes. So if you have a family member that maybe has been treated at a medical facility and you feel like they may have gotten an injury or unfortunately passed away because of some medical negligence, we definitely hear those cases. We hear cases sometimes involving medical practitioners who may have a contract dispute if they're working for, one of these medical organized health organizations. You
Yeah.
probably know the terminology better,
Mm-hmm.
but they may be under contract to provide services, and maybe
Like
there's a
different agencies.
different agencies,
Mhm.
and so sometimes we'll have contract disputes with providers or clinicians,
Okay.
with whoever they hold that contract with. Maybe something came up and someone breached the contracts in some way.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much intersectionality with healthcare and law. And particularly in our criminal cases, we have a lot of cases where we serve as mentally ill litigants as well. And so sometimes we might be in a position where we have to involuntarily commit someone.
Mm-hmm.
We may have to.
They call them
1013.
behavioral health.
I was gonna. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah. In Florida, when I used to live in Florida, they will call them Baker Act.
Okay, Baker Act. Okay.
Yes.
That's
yes.
when we have to take custody of someone in a medical setting because they're a danger to themselves or someone else. So, yeah, I mean, so that's a little bit about what I do every day on the bench when I'm not hearing cases in court. I'm a mom,
Okay.
I'm a wife. My husband and I have been married almost 21 years.
Wow, congrats.
And he's a school teacher here in Gwinnett. And so, we spend a lot of family time together. Our boys have grown up playing soccer. So soccer is a big part of our lifestyle.
Okay.
I'm a woman of faith. And so that's really what I'm made of.
How do you approach fairness when individuals enter the courtroom with different life circumstances?
That's a great question, and it's such an important part of what we do as judges. And I remember being a lawyer and practicing in front of some judges who had just felt like, were in it for the wrong reason because their heart wasn't there. And you can tell by the way they interacted with the lawyers and the way they interacted with people, particularly those that were representing themselves sometimes. I just felt like there was a lot of times the dignity was lost in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said a long time ago, if I ever become a judge, I'm going to be a judge who changes this perception, because we have a duty and a responsibility to see people,
Mm-hmm.
as human beings, and to offer them the dignity they deserve through the process. And sometimes litigants and attorneys as well may get really emotionally involved in cases, and there's a lot at stake for some people when they have these matters come before the court. And so it's the judge's role to offer a bit of respect to people, meet them where they are. But we take an oath to be fair. We take an oath to listen with an open mind, to not have preconceived ideas and opinions, and to really, again, to listen, to weigh the facts and the evidence, and really treat people fairly, and look at each legal issue as an individual case. Sometimes I feel like the longer you're on the bench, there is a tendency for some judges to just kind of see it as another number. This is just another case. But I really take the moment for what it is in that moment. Yeah. And this is a lot of times the most important thing in someone's life, whatever that case is. It means everything to them. And so that's the way I look at it. That's the perspective I take. This is really important to this person. They deserve my full attention. Mm-hmm. They deserve me to treat them with dignity and respect. They deserve, that I really hear them and I listen to them. And sometimes we make tough decisions. And so there are people who probably are not happy with me because maybe I ruled against them in a case. But I will say that I think people will walk away feeling like Judge Matthews was fair. I may not have gotten my way, but she listened to everything I presented. She talked to me like a human being. She didn't yell at me. There are some judges who literally yell at people and talk down to them and degrade and demean them. I would never do that.
I think I've seen that.
Sometimes I think it's always best for people to have representation, because obviously there comes a lot of knowledge with legal training. But we get a lot of people who cannot afford an attorney, who end up representing themselves. And so when I sit on the bench, I make sure that they're treated just like I treat the lawyer. I don't talk to the lawyer any differently than I talk to, we call them pro se litigants representing themselves.
Okay.
Now, we can't help them put their case up, or we can't tell them what to say. We're really, we have to be careful about not helping them in that way. But Certainly we encourage people. We try to make it, or at least I can say I try to make it as comfortable as possible, because it is pretty scary going into a courtroom in front of a judge. And again, you have some judges who are just, not friendly at all.
Be quiet. I don't want to hear it. That's it. You don't talk. You don't.
They cut people off. They're rude. And so I think when you just, again, see people as people and human beings who deserve to be talked to respectfully, then people feel more comfortable. And they may not have as much finesse as an attorney. A judge is supposed to hear you out, whether you're an attorney or not. You know the facts of your case. You can tell the judge what happened or what brings you to court or whatever your defense is. All of these things you can do by yourself. We just have to make it more comfortable for people.
So you are running right now for Superior Court, right?
Yes.
So what does a strong and effective leadership look like from the bench today?
So one, I think we have to have judges who clearly are knowledgeable about the law. We certainly need judges who have the experience and the knowledge to do the job effectively. Because you're expected to, on day one, know how to resolve these disputes. You're supposed to know, this is the statute that applies in this particular case. And so you want someone with experience, particularly in Superior Court, because it is the highest trial court of the state. You would want someone who has a good bit of experience handling cases in Superior Court. But aside from that, the knowledge, right, that we expect of judges, we need judges who act with integrity on and off the bench, because I think it is critically important for our community to have confidence in our judiciary and confidence in the process. When they see judges acting unbecoming, you may be fine on the bench, but if they see you, out in the parking lot berating someone or, breaking the law or whatever, it just doesn't reflect well on the bench. So you want people that are just good people, who have a heart and who have compassion. I think it's hard to be a judge if you don't care about people. There are some judges who may be in it for some other reason, but those are the qualities that I think are most important. Having the knowledge and skill and experience, being fair-minded and open-minded, having compassion. Obviously, listening skills is critically important. But integrity, I think, encompasses a lot of that. If you have integrity, you're just going to do the right thing.
And ethics should play a big role of that too.
And judges we are bound by certain ethical rules. There's a whole judicial code of conduct that we are supposed to follow. And so there are very strict guidelines about how we're to act ethically in different situations. Most of it is, common sense. Like, these are the things you're not supposed to do. Having some sort of financial interest in a case that you're hearing, you would have to recuse yourself. You can't hear a case, if your husband owns the company that's in litigation, in front of you, because that wouldn't be fair to the, other litigants. So that's just an example. But we have ethical rules that we're bound to follow, and judges can be held accountable if they violate those rules. There is a body that investigates judicial misconduct. And, unfortunately, there have been judges who've been removed from office.
Really?
Because of unethical
conduct. Those are the things we never heard out, right?
Yeah, sometimes those things happen quietly sometimes, but there have been some that have been, in the news and the media. If the conduct is particularly egregious, you can find yourself on the front page.
Oh. But what inspired you to make the decisions to run for the Superior Court?
So let me take you back to when I was a little girl. I grew up in Chicago, and I was raised by my mom she was a single mom who was a nurse, by the way.
Oh, cool.
But she worked hard to raise my siblings and I. But we grew up in what some would consider a tough area. And at a young age, because of my friends and people I knew who had to unfortunately go through the justice system, I just saw a lot of disparity. And I just saw a lot of unfair treatment, I felt like, with some of my peers. And so I knew at a young age I wanted to do something in law, because I felt like so much of what I saw was wrong, and I wanted to do something about it. So that's sort of where I got the idea that I wanted to be a lawyer. I never really thought that I would be a judge. I didn't even know it was in the realm of possibility.
Really?
I didn't grow up, there was no lawyers in my family, certainly not any judges. I had never met any judges as a little girl. So, it wasn't until much later in my career that I was having a conversation with a judge I used to work for actually as a staff attorney. And she said, you would really make a phenomenal judge. You should think about it. And we worked closely together, and I used to write this judge's orders and do her research. And she just said the way you think about and analyze cases and just your general disposition. She said, we need judges like you. And so that was really the first time I ever thought about really pursuing becoming a judge. And with respect to Superior Court, I sit in Superior Court every day anyway. I'm hearing those cases. I've made thousands of rulings at this point in Superior Court.
That'd be a good experience.
The judges who were elected to Superior Court have designated me time and time again to handle matters in their courtrooms. I've certainly gained the confidence of my colleagues on the bench. And I think, voters hopefully will pay attention to that. I'm not like bragging about myself or boasting about myself, but really you can ask the judges who appointed me, why did you all think she would be a good judge? And, why do you have her sit by designation in your courtroom? Like, what are her qualities? Like, what makes her a good judge? And I think they'll tell you she works hard. She rolls up her sleeves. She shows up every day. She's attentive. We hear from litigants and from lawyers that she really is fair. She's prepared. She knows the law. She's going to do her homework. And so all of those things, for me, make up what I believe a good Superior Court judge should be. And so why not me, right?
Yeah, right.
Why not?
And then you know what? And sometimes quality that people have on themselves, you may not even see the quality.
That's true.
And then there are other people, like your colleagues, if the judge work with you, he sees the quality in you. And him himself as an experienced judge, he saw your work, what you do, and your dedication, your passion. That's what probably he encouraged you to become.
And I will tell you, 11 or 12 judges, I don't remember at this point, but they had to make a decision to appoint me to the bench. So it wasn't just one person saying, I think she would do a good job. I mean, it's a pretty rigorous vetting process. When they go through all the candidates and they say, well, who has experience handling these types of cases? As a practicing lawyer. And they ask people in the legal community, what have you heard about this individual? And so collectively, they make a decision. 12 judges, the chief magistrate, and then all of the sitting Superior Court judges decide, who to appoint as full-time magistrates in Gwinnett. And so, it's not just me saying I deserve this seat. It's other people who put their faith and confidence in me to do what I'm doing.
So there is two ways you can become a judge: by appointed and by voting.
Correct.
And
and sometimes the appointments are made by the governor. So if there was a vacancy that happened in Superior Court, for example, if one of the judges, fell ill or for whatever reason couldn't complete their term, if they ceased their duties mid-term, then the governor would appoint for Superior Court, for example. So someone could be appointed directly, by the governor. But in my position, I was appointed by the Superior Court judges and the chief magistrate judge. All of our magistrate court judges in Gwinnett are appointed. Our juvenile court judges are all appointed. We have recorder's court, which is they handle traffic citations and also ordinance violations. Those are all appointed. The judges in Gwinnett that run for election or have to be elected are the state court judges, Superior Court. Hopefully I'm not missing any. But there are some that are appointed if they happen to come in sort of midterm, if that makes sense.
What key legal insight should nurses and healthcare professionals understand to better protect themselves and their patients?
It's hard out here for healthcare professionals, I think. When I look at some of the policies that are being passed that have a direct impact on what you all do every day, I kind of hold my breath, and like I said, both of my parents actually were in the medical profession. And so it's so funny when I have conversations with them now, they never really realize how much law and healthcare intersect.
Yeah.
But,
I didn't know that either.
a lot. But I would say the best thing healthcare providers and practitioners can do for the benefit of their clients is just to offer the good care that you always do, right?
Yes.
Like just do your job. And I think just like, judges, nurses and doctors, physicians are professionals, we're trained.
Yeah.
But you have to have a bit of compassion in your work too.
Yeah.
You have to really care about people. And I think if you care about the work that you do, you're passionate about it, you really want to help people, you're in it for the right reason, then you'll provide excellent care, right? That part is easy. What's more difficult is when you have obstacles. I hate to use the word obstacles, but sometimes laws are passed that impact how you can interfere with how you practice medicine.
Yeah.
I think about some of the legislation, no matter how you feel about this particular law, but the heartbeat bill, for example, where they are prosecuting now physicians and healthcare providers if the government, I guess, feels like you've helped someone abort a baby.
Yeah.
And you could just be providing medical care and trying to treat what they've come in for. Maybe, an expectant mother is in distress somehow, and you do the best you can to try to save the baby, but now healthcare providers are on the line. If they make a misstep, then you could be facing prosecution.
Yeah, the thing is, they are saving lives too. It can be saving the lives of the mother. If they know the baby either way that they're gonna get lost. And then when
sometimes
the laws
you have to make those decisions.
Yes.
Mother or baby. I mean,
let's say if I'm taking care of a patient, I know what I'm doing, and we have somebody to write a policy who doesn't know anything that I'm doing, telling me what to do and what not to do.
And you have the medical training.
Yes.
And you're like, that doesn't really, that's not how it works. And y'all are having to make sometimes quick, second decisions, very fast decisions right in that moment. And you don't want to have to think, well, what does the law say if I do this? Am I going to be prosecuted?
Yes.
And it's just unfortunate because then you have patients who may be afraid to come and get help because they're afraid they're going to be prosecuted. I hate to keep using this as an example, but a mother who's expecting, maybe she's miscarrying.
Yeah.
And she's afraid to come to the hospital because maybe they're going to think I did something to cause this miscarriage. So I hemorrhage at home. It's just, so laws like that, I just use that as one example of something that can really legally impact what you do every day on the front line.
I don't know how this is going to become a law with the current government that we have now that says that nursing is not a profession. I went for 4 years college, 2 years in nursing, then I do another year and a half for my BSN, then I went another year and a half for my master, then 5 years for a PhD. You tell me this is not a profession.
Right, I mean, you've done all the training. The training you can do.
And then now, we already have a shortage in nursing, okay? We have a shortage of nursing, and then it's not even so much of the nursing. We don't have shortage of faculty to teach. Now, if you blocking nurses from going to school, or they cannot afford to go to school. I have people who call me and test me, well, is it good to continue going in nursing? Because I heard that nursing is not a profession anymore. It's not on the category of a profession.
And that's just appalling to me. I mean, nursing is one, and you all save lives.
Save lives.
For goodness sake.
But what's gonna happen to healthcare?
I can't imagine.
So we have more shortage in the hospital.
Nurses are the backbone of our healthcare system.
Yes.
Now, physicians, doctors, they're important too.
Yes.
But nurses are providing direct patient care. I mean, this is your go-to. I've been hospitalized before. I know, we rely on our nurses a lot. And to me, it's just preposterous to think that that's even a discussion.
Yeah.
Considering the amount of training you have to do. And again, you're saving people's lives.
Yes.
And providing essential care that all of us, every single person, relies on. How can we function without nurses? It's just...
It's terrible.
I can't believe that.
Terrible. So, Judge Matthew, when I was in nursing school, they were telling us, as a nurse, we cannot be in politics. We cannot do this. And then people, I don't know if they say that in medical school or anything like that, but in my training. But as I get more education, I think it's a big to let people now probably more nurses they start having they start having teaching them about not even politics, just healthcare policies and how to write policy. What's your take on that?
So
On
I
healthcare.
personally think everybody has a voice, and laws get passed every day that affect people and affect you, they affect me. So I think everybody has to have a voice. Everybody should be involved. Whether it's contacting your state legislator or your federal, lawmakers and speaking up, like this is an issue we care about, this is how this law is impacting people. So we all have that responsibility, but particularly as a healthcare provider, again, it's so important for our lawmakers particularly to hear from you all, because you all know practically how all of these laws that impact your profession are going to affect your care for your patients. And so I just say, everybody has a voice. There are some who will try to silence your voice.
Yes.
But we can't let that happen. The fact that you were told, in your educational training, just do what you do and care for your patients and stay quiet. I think that's a big mistake. Because now more than ever, we need to hear voices from our healthcare providers to, gosh, our educators, because all the laws that are passed, affecting education. I mean, educators need to speak up.
Yeah.
How is this impacting your students every day in the classroom? And a lot of people who are up, in our legislature, they haven't practiced, as nurses, they haven't practiced medicine. So they're guessing sometimes.
Yes.
Some legislators do have science backgrounds or medical background. We need more, I think.
Yeah.
So not that you ever have an interest in politics, but even if you don't want to be a lawmaker, you certainly have a voice. You can, go up to the Capitol and sit in on some of these hearings when they're passing bills that affect, healthcare, and know who your representatives are. And don't be afraid to call them or email them and say, I see that y'all are thinking about this healthcare legislation. As a healthcare provider, this is how this is going to impact my patients. I think it's a bad idea. I think you need to hear from more of us in the medical community. So, use your voice. You have it. You got to use it. I would love to think that you can just be a nurse and just be happy being a nurse, but none of us have that luxury to just have our profession and go to work every day and close our doors and windows and pretend like the rest of the world isn't still happening.
Yeah. So, and this podcast is not only for, I just wanted to touch base on everything. It's not only for healthcare nurses, we have a lot of other people that's watching it also. And I have other people that I know who's not on healthcare, who can be patients or patients' family, who told me they don't believe in voting anymore. It doesn't matter, or their vote doesn't count.
Yeah.
So how do we deal with that?
Yeah, it breaks my heart to hear that. I actually was out and about in the community the other day, and I asked the young person, voting is coming up, starting next month, early voting for all of your local elections. And he was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to vote. And I was just like, I was so taken aback. And I said, well, why aren't you voting? And he just says, I see all the stuff that's happening in politics. And he's like, I don't want to get involved in that. But he's not the only young person that I've heard say that, and even some older people are they feel disenfranchised. They feel disgusted sometimes by what they're seeing, all the division. People are very hyper partisan right now. So if you don't have the right color next to your name as a candidate, then people are like, they want to hear what you have to say, even though you may be saying something they actually agree with.
Yeah.
But because maybe this candidate identifies as a Democrat or Republican, it's just like we can't hear anything they have to say. So I get it. People are frustrated. And I think too, people are hurting financially.
Yeah.
And so their healthcare is being impacted. Some people can't afford decent healthcare. Some people are struggling to put food on the table and pay their bills. And so I think some people feel like it doesn't really matter what I do. I'm just going to still be in the same position because the politicians can't agree. I mean, look at what we have right now where there's an impasse, with our Congress, like they can't come to an agreement
Yeah.
to get, funding for federal defense, for immigration.
Yes.
I mean, so people are just frustrated.
Frustrated.
But what I have to say is, too many people died, literally were hung, beaten, battered, bruised. I think about our ancestors and all they had to go through to get us this opportunity.
Yes.
So for no other reason, we have to do it. Too many people died, paid the ultimate price. And so if for no other reason, do it for that. But if you have children or if you have grandchildren, and you want to see the world be better than what you left it, we have to do that by voting. We have to make it better by giving to the community. That's important too. But voting is the way we affect change. And we can't just keep complaining about the stuff that we don't like. It doesn't fix itself.
And sometimes the way we want things may not happen the way we want it, but we still have to try and try again.
You can't give up. You can't give up. Look, if I had, given up when people told me little girls from the west side of Chicago, they don't grow up to be lawyers. Like, you're crazy to think that you're gonna finish college and go to law school. People from my neighborhood, that's not what we do. Like, what are you thinking? People told me like I dreamed too big. Mm-hmm. But there's no such thing.
Yeah, my professor told me, when I was doing my PhD, she told me, maybe PhD is not for you. I said, well, what's for me then? Yeah, they do, but I've never give up on anything.
And we cannot give up. No matter how bad things seem, no matter how bad they get, they can get worse. That's the one thing to remember. They can get worse, but we cannot give up. We owe it to the next generation, the people that will come years after us, to get things right. Right. And we do that by voting. So don't waste your opportunity to vote. It's so important.
Yeah. So now tell me about you. How's campaigns going? Are you excited?
I'm so excited, but this is so nice to just sit back and have like a conversation in a comfortable space.
Yeah.
But because I'm really always out in the community, especially even when I'm not running for office, even when it's not campaign season, I'm out there serving the community, doing what I can to help make our community better. I'll just say that. But adding the campaign on top of that, it is a lot of work and it is demanding. I am on the bench doing my regular day-to-day just about every day. So think about me leaving court at 5:30 or 6, and then I'm having to go to different community events. I'm having to go canvass and knock on doors and write postcards, or having a campaign meeting with my campaign team.
Oh, you don't just sit down and watch TV?
I don't just sit down and watch TV. I wish, but I'm working hard to earn the vote, the voters.
Yeah.
I want.
So wait, you just say you earn the vote. Tell me, why would the community believe on you and then vote for you?
So this is what I would tell the community. We deserve leaders at the helm, and this is every part of our government, who really operate from a place of not only having knowledge and skills and experience to do the job, but candidates you can have faith in, who are going to do the right thing, who act with integrity, who have a proven record. And so, just like I was saying earlier, you don't have to take my word for it. Go out and talk to some of the attorneys who are in our courts all the time in Gwinnett County. Talk to some of the other judges. Ask them, how is Judge Matthews on the bench? How is she as a judge? They will tell you, I work hard, I show up every day, I'm kind to people, I care about people. It just kind of pours out of me. Really, it's hard for me to express it in words, but my care and concern for people is deep. And that's the reason I do this work. Some people go into this profession because of money. Judges don't make as much money as people think. So I'm not in it for the money. I'm not in it for the title. I'm in it because I care about people, and I want to see our justice system work the way it's supposed to work. And we need judges at the helm who operate in that way, who want to make sure people have confidence in our judiciary. I work hard every day to ensure that people are confident when they get a result in court that the judge followed the law, one, but also made the decision based on the law and not some other factor that you have no control of, whether it be your race, age, disability, sexual orientation, all the isms, religion. No, this judge makes a decision based on the law and based on what's right in that particular case. And so that's what I want voters to know about me and to remember about me. I'm doing the job. So clearly I'm experienced. I have the experience. But me as a person, I want you to know that I do this work because I am truly passionate about people.
Yeah, because people wanted to know if they're going to court, they don't have to be afraid because you are human. You're gonna listen to them. You're gonna do what's right.
That's right.
And sometimes, even if an attorney is taking advantage or do something wrong, that you know it's wrong. You
Judge Matthews is gonna put a stop to that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But as many people know, usually like when it's November every 4 years, you will see numbers of people going out to vote.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's like the midterm, they don't know those kind of things. Tell them about when is the midterm and how to vote.
Yes, thank you for that question, because that is something I think a lot of people have confusion about.
Yeah.
What is the midterm? Why are we voting in May? What is the primary election? How is that different from the election in November, the general election in November? So in your May primary, and the election date is May 19th, by the way, here in Georgia, early voting actually starts April 27th, which is like a month from now, less than a month. But on that ballot, you're going to be voting, one, for your primary candidates. These are the candidates for your party, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. You're going to be voting for the candidates who you want to represent you in that November election. For the state, most of them are statewide. There are some local elections like the race that I'm in, but the statewide elections you're going to be voting on are governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, secretary of state. There are a couple of congressional races, a couple of state legislative races that are going on. Those will all be on your ballot, depending on where you are in Gwinnett. Some places, some parts of Gwinnett have a school board election. So there are two school board representatives that are up for re-election. So they'll be on the ballot. And then you have your judges. And so the thing about school board races and the judicial races is there is no general election because those races are nonpartisan. There is no general. So our race is decided in May. Whereas the other candidates for some of the statewide elections that are partisan, again, you're really voting on who you want from your party to represent you on the ballot in November for governor, lieutenant governor, all the other races that I named. But the important distinction is for voters to remember, if you want to have a say-so on the judge who sits on the bench, you have to vote in May because they won't be on the ballot in November. You would have missed your opportunity to select your judge or your school board representative. So that's really important. In Gwinnett, I will say we only have one contested judicial race. That's a local race. That's the race that I'm in for Superior Court. That seat is currently occupied by a judge who's retiring. So we're not going against an incumbent. It's what we call an open seat. There are 3 candidates in that race. And so you'll see for that one seat, it's Division 1. There's, one race, 3 candidates. But there's also, a lot of people don't know, you'll also be voting on, there's 1 Court of Appeals, that's a statewide judicial race, and 2, I may have it backwards, 2 Supreme Court justices that are up for election, and they have challengers. And I may have it the other way around. Maybe it's 2 Court of Appeals and 1 Supreme Court justice. I don't remember offhand, but those will be on your ballot too. And those are statewide judicial races. So that was a lot, wasn't it?
Yeah, but with how many, the judicial is gonna be separate than the regular or all of them?
So all of it will be on one ballot. So all of it, and so what you can do, I always encourage people, usually about a month before early voting, although I checked just yesterday, they haven't released them yet, but you can get a sample ballot. If you go to your My Voter page on the Secretary of State website, you can basically review your ballot weeks in advance so that you can prepare, like, okay, I see this is maybe what I need to do a little bit more research on because I didn't know this was going to be on my ballot. You should never go into the voting booth and be surprised as to what's on your ballot, because you can pull your sample ballot ahead of time and you can look up those names and do your research. You can even take a piece of paper or your sample ballot into the voting booth when you go to vote. The only thing you can't do is bring your phone or electronic device, but you can actually print it out and bring it with you. Or write it on a separate piece of paper, because sometimes you forget there are going to be a lot of races on this ballot. So if you need to remember, write it down and take it with you. Okay. But all of these are going to be on the one ballot. Okay. And for my race particularly, any of the judicial races is going to be on the Democratic ticket and the Republican. So whichever one you pull.
And independent.
And that. Well, and in Georgia, we only have Democrat or Republican tickets. So they don't really do like a nonpartisan ticket. But you'll have to pull one or the other.
Okay. And how do
actually, that might not be true. I think you can request, I don't know if they call it independent or nonpartisan ballot, but the problem is you'll only get the nonpartisan races on that ballot.
Oh, okay.
So if you don't say Democrat or Republican, then you won't vote for all of the races that are partisan. You'll only have the nonpartisan races. Okay. So only school board and judicial races. If you pull that ticket, that's the only thing you'll be able to vote for.
Okay. And
I don't remember what they call it. I don't remember, but there is that option. Just know that none of the partisan races are going to be on your ballot.
Okay. And how about your site? What's your
website?
About your website?
It's www.judgematthews.com. And I always tell people jokingly, it's not Mathis. There is a famous TV judge named Judge Mathis.
Yeah, I know Judge Mathis.
That's not me. Don't go to Judge Mathis's site. It's Judge Matthews.
MATTHEWS.
And you'll find more information about me or how you can chip in to help. I'm also on pretty much all the social media platforms. So I have Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. I even got a TikTok account. Really? Somebody told me you gotta reach the young people.
You put anything on TikTok?
So I do have some stuff on TikTok because apparently that's where the young people hang out. My son said Facebook is for old people.
Oh my God!
So I guess I'm an old person.
How old is your son?
So I have two. One is 18 and one is 14.
Wow, you look so young too. Look at him.
Somebody told me just today, like, you look too young to be running for judge or to be a judge. And I said, well, maybe life has just been treating me well.
What's the youngest judge that you know?
Oh, goodness.
I mean, that was who's the youngest judge that you know?
Probably, I knew a judge maybe appointed at 38. It's the youngest I personally know. By law, you have to be at least 30. So technically, a 30-year-old can be a judge.
And how old you have to say goodbye?
There is no cap. It's just whenever you feel like my work is done or people vote you out,
Oh, people can vote you out too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, judges have to be reelected in Superior Court, for example, on the ballot every 4 years. So once you're at the end of your 4-year term, you'll appear on the ballot again at the end of that 4 years, and you have to run for re-election.
So if you're a judge right now, you went to Superior Court, in 4 years you have to run again. If you don't run or if you lost, you go back as a judge?
And me personally, because I have an appointed position now, when I'm elected to Superior Court, and let's say 4 years, voters say, okay, we don't want Judge Matthews on the bench anymore in Superior Court. Maybe I could go back to being an appointed judge. It usually doesn't happen that way.
Okay.
Once you're voted sort of off the bench, usually you go back into private practice, for example. So you just probably will go out and practice law more, or sometimes, lawyers go into policy work. Okay. Sometimes judges, once they get off the bench, they want to do something completely different. So I've known judges to, go on and open up like a business that has nothing to do with the law. Maybe they've always wanted to be a dance instructor, so they just say, forget law, I'm going to go teach dance, or I'm going to open up a florist, business, or really you can do whatever you set your heart to do, I guess.
Wow.
But I don't know many judges who leave the bench and then, I guess, try to do another type of court judicial position. I just can't think of any off the top of my head.
Wow. Wow.
So for me, once I'm in Superior Court, that's it. I'm not. Yeah.
It'll be running. But To me, it's just the running of all the leg works that you have to do, and in
It's
4 years, a lot of work.
Yeah.
Unless everybody's already know you, they just vote you every 4 years.
Well, that's the thing. Like some judges they go unopposed. So, for example, when I was saying, this cycle in Gwinnett County, which is kind of unheard of, we only have one contested race, and so none of the incumbents who face reelection this term, because there are several on the bench in Superior Court, this is their term to be up, I guess, or be up for reelection, and they didn't get any challengers. So they'll still appear in your ballot. Like when you go to vote, you'll still see some of those other judges, but it'll only be one name. That just means they didn't face any opposition.
Yeah, and then you just check.
So it could be that. I mean, every 4 years, maybe you don't have to get out there and campaign if you don't have any opposition. You just kind of float on by, and people can check your name on the ballot or not. You're still going to be the judge because you have no opposition for that.
That's true.
So anyway, I know that was a lot.
Yeah. Judge Matthew, thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing your perspective, your leadership for the community.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Nizzo. It's been a pleasure.
Today's conversations remind us that justice and healthcare are deeply connected. The decisions made in the Superior Court shape not only legal outcome, but also the health, safety, and well-being of communities. To our listeners, especially nurses and healthcare professionals, this is your call to stay informed, engaged, and involved. Whether through advocacy, policy, or leadership, your voice is essential in shaping systems that are both just and compassionate. Thank you for joining us on Voices of Nursing with Dr. Nazil. Please share, subscribe. Until next time.